are basically proud and partners of the project in this campaigns, campaign by the in this image you can see about market. First of all, you launch a crowdfunding campaign, you're aiming to finance the project, money and donation for ultimate goal. But in order to achieve it, engage a crowd. And the best way to do it, especially talk about before the the community will be by the return, okay, but especially share for example with marriage, if you are ability, environment, you are also moved by the same aims, then you would decide to donate to the campaign, not only because you want to receive the t-shirt or the notebook back. Also because very often the reward, you are going, for example, you're going to pay for a t-shirt like 50 or 40 euros, which is not actually, does not correspond to the actual value of the product itself. It's much more than the value of the t-shirt, because it's the reward is supposed to be just a symbol, a way for the promoter to say thank you to the donor. But we talk about community not only as a community of donors, but also as a community behind the project itself, the team. So as Alessio very well pointed out, there is a huge effort. You mentioned 1 year of preparation for a crowdfunding campaign. Actually, it could very well be. And behind its promotion, we always suggest to project promoters to have at least one person dedicated to the communication of the campaign, because it's not only, as Elisa said, there's a pre-campaign phase, a campaign phase, and a post-campaign phase, so it's really a job. And you need to prepare it very well in advance, otherwise you risk to be disappointed. And of course, third pillar, communication. And in case of reward crowdfunding, we always also insist a lot in communicate very well your rewards, because they are of course a kind of incentive for donors to contribute to your initiative. Second financial tip. Since we are talking about marketing, you have to establish a budget and financial amount of money that you need to implement your project. And in our platform, this is how it looks like. We ask projects to define a minimum and an optimum amount. And we work with the all or nothing model that was mentioned earlier, meaning that we ask project promoters to achieve the minimum amount they set in the first financial round that lasts 40 days, not 60, in our case 40. And if they manage to achieve it, then they access the second round, that is another 40 days, and they can run for the optimum. Of course, in many cases, I would say the minimum is achieved even earlier, but you don't lose any days. You would have, like if you achieve the minimum in 20 days, you would have 40 plus the remaining 20 days to get to the optimum. And the image that you see here is an example of a campaign that was promoted within the Blue Crowdfunding project by the Chamber of Commerce of Seville. And this was implemented by a small artisan from Castellón in Spain, who realizes sews swim costumes using recycled tissue, recycled by using nets and plastics extracted from the sea. And as you can see, she managed to achieve more than her minimum amount. This is why here you see 112%, because the minimum was set as 1,775 euros, and she achieved 2,000. This is how the budget looks like. You see in two different colors the minimum costs and the optimum costs. Actually, something that is also very key to engage a community is to be transparent and clear. The more clear and transparent you are, the more easily you can get trust from your community. So, for example, in her case, you can see that these costs related to the acquisition of the fabrics, tissue printing, were of course included in the minimum amount, because it is supposed to cover all the necessary costs that otherwise it wouldn't be possible for you to implement the project. And on the optimum, then you would put all those costs that are not necessary, but that would help your initiative to grow even better. For example, in this case, it was communication, hiring a new person to help you grow, and so on. Preparation of videos could be all costs that go in the optimum. And also, a very important thing, you can see here that she put in the minimum amount also the costs related to the commissions of the platform. We mentioned this earlier today. So, for example, in the case of GOTEO, it's 5%, that I think it's almost a medium for reward-based platforms. 5% of all the donations go for the maintenance of the platform. And also the costs related to the production of the rewards, because sometimes it's not always material that you already have. You need also to produce it and also send it. So this is all costs that you should foresee. Otherwise, and in the end, you will have to pay by your side. And another important thing, so this is the three most important things I think that I summarize that you have as a potential project promoter to keep in mind about a platform. When you have finally checked the market and choose the right platform that matches your objectives and your goals, and you go for it, think that the platform is a tool to give more visibility to your project. Don't expect, if you don't have a community already, if you don't use social networks, or if you haven't worked on the preparation of your campaign before, that everything would come from the platform. This is not what it is supposed to happen. It is a tool that enables your community to donate money to your project. And also, of course, to give visibility. I said already that we, for example, count on a wide community of more than 100,000 people. And of course, they are united by the same values, etc. They receive our newsletter. So, of course, if you launch a campaign through our platform, you get the chance to widen your community. But to widen it, not to create it from scratch. And then also, it is a good way, launching a crowdfunding campaign, to test your minimum valuable product. I mean, to try to seek funds for the minimum, the easiest version of your product, give your community something that they can touch, and really see if there is public interest in what you want to do. It could be for a small, just a start. And if you see that this works, then continue in the future seeking other funds. It happened a lot also on GOTEO, for example, that some campaigns that started with donation crowdfunding through our platform, then they succeeded and they decided to go on another lending platform once they've already tested their minimum viable product through donation. And also get in touch with a community of strongly committed people that maybe you can also foster even if your campaign didn't succeed in the future as potential partners. So, first communication tip, start with what you already have. When you plan a communication campaign for your project, think of what you already have in terms of public, who are the people to which you normally already communicate, through which channels do you use, for example, social media, do you use more informal activities like dinners or trips, etc., and foster their use. Don't try to create, for example, it's going to be much harder if you create an Instagram profile or a Facebook page for your project from zero than if you foster the one that you already have, because it already has a community behind. So try to engage them in the best way you can. Think that normally, that is what we say to our projects, that the 30% of the whole amount that you're seeking funds for normally should come in the first week of your campaign. And normally it comes from the closest contacts you have, so family, friends, and colleagues. So this is something to keep very well in mind. Use what you already have. These are some, not all, but these are a few keys that we believe sum up all the necessary things to keep in mind when supporting through communication a crowdfunding campaign. Of course, motivation and teamwork is essential. The motivation of the promoting team behind the campaign, also because it is contagious. The more you are motivated, the more you will manage to motivate donors. Prior planning, we already mentioned it, and public segmentation. Segmentation is a concept that's very common in marketing, and it refers to really dividing your target publics per groups. For example, if you, in the case of the sustainable bikini campaign, there might be a segment of group that is, I don't know, young people preparing for the summer. So young people, it's one segment. Then it might be also local producer of textile material, local commerces that might be willing to offer their products as rewards for your campaign. So once you've segmented all these target audiences, also communicate to them in the right way. You won't use the same language or the same channels to get to youngsters than to other types of public. And also, try to increase web traffic to your campaign. Something that normally works very well and it's not very expensive is paying advertisement on Instagram, Facebook. This is something that works really well. And if you think, I don't know if you ever tried to do it, but when you do, Facebook asks you to segment your public. It asks you a series of questions that are like, who do you want us to get to? So it's really, really important. And also develop strategic alliances with other people. For example, if you are an artisan, other artisans from the same region, or why not other projects that are also promoted similar initiatives, like it happened within the Blue Crowdfunding project. And have an engaging storytelling behind. Something that is really important is to see faces, to see people. We all, in all the projects that run a campaign through GOTEO, have to define there is a part in the formulaire that it's about the team. So we always suggest to show the faces and to really describe the names, the real names of the people promoting the project, because it's something that really helps the community to connect. And to give you an idea of the complexity of the preparation of a communication campaign, this is an Excel that we share with our project promoters, and they are asked to prepare their communication campaign before, after, during and after. Like as Alessio showed, normally their interest is never regular. Actually, the graph that you showed is what normally happens. At the beginning it's like this, then there's a part in the middle that is like plain, and then at the end, because of the urgency, we always suggest to use like this as an effective communication message, like, come on, we are almost made it, so help us through the last week of the campaign, the last day, the last hours even. So this is how people think that success works. Normally, what people see that you got a great idea, someone gives you money, you reach your objective and you succeed, but in the cruel world of crowdfunding, this is more what happens. You will get out of your comfort zone, you will go nerves, you will have to ask for help, you'll try, you'll fail, and then at the end, hopefully, you will succeed. So an emphasis on defining your target public, of course, is not the same to reach to your friends that will help you no matter what. And the same will probably do your grandma, like Elisa said in the morning, or your father. You just knock at their door, and no matter what you are trying to promote, they're gonna give you money even without wanting anything in return. This is also possible. I don't want a reward, I just want to give you money because you're my friend or family. Then, other type of public is the fans and involved people that, as I already said, they follow your project because they share with you some values, because you motivate them, and you have to really target the rewards also towards the segment of public that you have identified. And also businesses and institutions, of course, they might seek for their own interest. Maybe you can help them enhancing their presence, or just, for example, they would like to have their name associated with a project that wants to clean the sea from plastics. Actually, something I was thinking when Alessio was speaking earlier, you knew that from the beginning that there were huge investors interested. Something that we offer that's an interesting tool, they could become like little private matchers. So they don't give the whole donation of 2,000 euros to the project directly, but through GOTEO they could upload it on a virtual wallet and decide to use this as a match. You know, then you say, you project promoter, you say to people, oh, come on, from now on for 2 weeks, for every euro you donate, this enterprise or this person is willing to double the donations that you give. This is something that also gives a lot of incentive. For example, recently we've had a very successful campaign about a cultural center in Spain, in Asturias. There was an abandoned place, and they had a very interesting cultural program of doing concerts there, inviting people, musicians, etc. And we've had, I believe, 20,000 euros matcher from the Primavera Sound, which is a very important music festival in Barcelona. So it was one of the best star examples that we have. And so, yeah, what I said, if you take care of your community, the 30% should come in the first week, and then you can go for other types of public. And taking care of your community also means when you use social networks, for example, if a publication receives a comment, be sure that you answer to that comment, because like these people see that there's a team behind, there's people behind the project. You're not just seeking for funds. And if you manage to do this, then your networks will hopefully become super networks, and you will be able to implement strategic collaborations, and also remember to never stop sharing, even for example, if you receive a big donation, share a post and say, oh, thank you very much, we received these, we are so happy, we're so grateful, or interact, as I said, with your communication, with your team, and give information. And why not? Also, organizing an event is a very useful way of collecting funds. Of course, we've talked a lot about crowdfunding today, but nothing is ever universal. It will all depend not only on the initiative, but also on the context. For example, with the campaigns in Greece, we had this example of a campaign that wanted to build a path to visit an abandoned place that suffered from floods from the rain and the river. And they said, okay, but our community, we have a big and strong community, but they're not familiar with digital tools. It's really hard for us to tell them, donate through the platform. They don't trust the internet. They don't want to put the cards online. So a good idea, what could be like organizing a dinner where you actually collect physically the money, and then it's the project promoter to give the money to the campaign. This is something that we don't really suggest, just because in case then the campaign fails, it will be hard to send the money back. I mean, the person really has to keep a list and keep track record of who donated what, in order to ensure that in case of failure, this is possible. But it is an option. And that's it from my side. I hope I didn't bore you too much. Of course, if you have any questions.